On the way, it's our movie Volcano. That's after the ITV Weekend News with Steve Scott.
Wrong number. Michael Howard apologises for Conservative leaflets which exaggerate the rate of MRSA infection in hospitals across the country.
And that was a mistake, and I'm very sorry we made that mistake.
The apology comes after Tony Blair accuses the Tories of running a nasty and unscrupulous campaign. Tonight, a series of polls suggest the Conservatives' weekend won't get any better. Also tonight, an official inquiry is launched into Rover's accounts as thousands wait for their redundancy notices. And double Dutch. Van Persie steers Arsenal to the FA Cup final. Good evening. MRSA infected the political agenda today as the Tories and Labour exchanged verbal blows on health. Michael Howard was forced to issue an apology after leaflets signed by him were sent out, exaggerating the infection rates of the superbug at local hospitals. But the Conservative leader remains defiant, insisting overall rates of MRSA have gone up under Labour. Tony Blair waded into the row, accusing the Tories of running a nasty and unscrupulous campaign. Our political correspondent, Simon Harris, is at Westminster this evening with the latest. Simon.
Steve, the Tories are so sure they're onto a winner with MRSA, they've made cleaner hospitals one of their 6 key manifesto pledges. But tonight their campaign is looking somewhat tarnished after they got the figures wrong. Labour called it deception. It is political germ warfare. The Tories have highlighted the hospital superbug MRSA as a critical issue. But in a letter tailored to individual constituencies, Michael Howard may have shot himself in the foot. This one, sent to voters in Twickenham, talks of 166 patients infected in 1 year in one hospital trust. The true figure is 60. The Conservatives say it's all down to a letter S left out.
We sent out a letter, and it referred to the MRSA rates in the local hospital when it should have, the local hospital trust, when it should have referred to the local hospital trusts. And that was a mistake, and I'm very sorry we made that mistake.
It is a powerful election issue. This week, ITV News reported on the harrowing case of Brenda Crickmore, left severely brain damaged after contracting the superbug. Hospital hygiene is under the microscope. The Prime Minister toured a hospital in Kent in an attempt to put health at the top of the agenda.
We are tackling MRSA. Here at this hospital, we're tackling it. He's actually one of the matrons of the hospital who helps do this. For the Conservative Party to try and make the whole of the National Health Service and run it down on the basis of MRSA and often misleading information about it is just an indication of what's at stake here.
The Tories were in power for 18 years when MRSA was around. They didn't do anything about it. It's completely unacceptable that they now frighten people by distorting the figures. And it's another example of the Tories trying to mislead people in this election.
In another row, the Prime Minister called on voters to sign a petition to stop the Conservatives charging for operations. The Tories say no such plans exist, and in a counter-attack to their MRSA blunder, they accused Labour of scaremongering.
So, Simon, the Tories have spent the week focusing on what they think are vote-winning issues like MRSA, like immigration. How's that reflected in the latest polls?
Well, not very well. The most encouraging for the Tories in the Sunday Times suggests that Labour's lead has been cut to 1 point, but that would still give Tony Blair a majority of 60 seats in the next Parliament. But another in the news of the world, carried out in marginal constituencies, suggests a Conservative meltdown, with Labour on a majority of 152 seats. And even more depressing for the Conservatives is one in the Sunday Telegraph, which predicts a Labour landslide of 158 seats. Well, tomorrow the Conservatives will concentrate on their plans to make £4 billion of tax cuts by talking about a scheme to offer tax relief to people who invest in pensions. Steve.
Simon in Westminster, thank you. The fallout from the demise of MG Rover continued today when the government ordered a formal investigation into the collapse of the car giant. There's mounting concern over an estimated £400 million black hole in the company's accounts. Tonight, the directors of Phoenix Venture Holdings hit back, saying their accounts had been regularly audited. Here's Romilly Weeks with the details.
While Rover's owners walk away with millions, its employees are wondering how to survive. Gemma Cartwright showed me round her gutted home today. Her husband's redundancy means there's no money to finish it.
Do you put tiles on your walls or do you put food on your table?
Like thousands of other families, there's real anger at the way they've been treated.
These lads and ladies that work at Rover haven't put themselves in this situation. It's the directors that have done this, and the directors need to pay these workers back. They've made them so much money and they've done the dirty on them.
The men who own Rover, the Phoenix Four, including John Towers here in the centre, deny any wrongdoing. But a formal investigation has now been launched into their accounts amid reports that up to £400 million could be missing from the books.
There is a spectrum of remedies available in civil and criminal proceedings, which could range from nothing happening to them at all to the full range of penalties, certainly. And the courts will not be slow to impose those penalties.
At hastily set up advice centres, Rover workers were hearing about their prospects. The government has pledged a £150 million support package, but that hasn't allayed many fears here.
Will they employ me when I'm 57? Because it's going to take 2 years to probably really try.
It is too late to save any jobs here at Longbridge. By Monday, just a sixth of the workforce will walk back through these gates to finish off cars that are already on the production line. After that, this site will be mothballed, Rover's long car-making history at an end. And for all except the Phoenix Four, there's very little to show for it. Romilly Weeks, ITV News at Longbridge.
Now, some of tonight's other stories. The 29-year-old Hartlepool man has been arrested in connection with the murder of a teenage girl. The body of 16-year-old Kim Bage was found at her mother's home yesterday. And the Police Federation has called for murdered detective Stephen Oak to be given Britain's highest civilian award for bravery, the George Cross. The policeman was stabbed to death by Ricin terrorist Carmel Bourgas in 2003. Sport now, and Arsenal were battered, bruised, but ultimately victorious in this afternoon's FA Cup semi-final at the Millennium Stadium. They brushed off Blackburn's physical challenge to win 3-0. Here's Alex Thomas.
Criticised as a semi-final venue and certainly not a sellout, but the Millennium Stadium wasn't lacking in colour or atmosphere before kick-off. It's been Wembley's stand-in for 5 years, and football fans have come to love this little part of Britain. Aware of Blackburn's battling tactics, Arsenal tried to get their blows in first, but captain Patrick Vieira was far more sinned against than sinner. A point that Arsene Wenger was keen to make to the officials. To their credit, Arsenal didn't get rattled and they took the lead shortly before half-time. Some of the 18,000 Blackburn fans were beginning to wonder why they'd made the trip to Cardiff at all. Their team didn't lack any effort, but rarely threatened to score. Arsenal, though, failed to seal the win until a double strike from Robin van Persie in the dying minutes. If the first goal was good, the second was spectacular. Van Persie! Although Blackburn defender Andy Todd didn't seem to appreciate it. Not quite as painful when you've just won 3-0. Alex Thomas, ITV News.
And that's the news tonight. There's continuing coverage over on the ITV News channel. I'm back with bulletins throughout the day tomorrow, but from all the team here, good night.
ITV National Weather, sponsored by Powergen.
Hello, good evening. Well, most places will be dry tonight, but then later on we see cloud and rain spilling into islands, and for central and eastern parts it's a case of clear skies, but in turn translating into dipping temperatures and a sharp April frost on the card. Gardeners take note. Into our Sunday morning then, a dry, bright start to the day for many of us. Any mist, any frost disappears fairly promptly. We even manage some glimmers of sunshine here. But during the course of the morning, we see this cloud and rain gathering out to the west. And then during the course of the day, this edges further eastwards all the while, those central and eastern parts here ought to hang on to the dry weather. And in the brighter slots, temperature's fairly pleasant, certainly a chillier feel to things where we see the cloud and rain.
Positive energy from PowerGen.